Good day. Welcome to Professional and Community Development, Unit 2, Professional Development of Teachers. My name is Reginald, and I'm the tutor for this course. So, as we know by now, we work with the notion that teachers never stop learning. So in Unit 2, we look at professional development of teachers. A professional development program for teachers should encourage professional growth and ensures that, that teachers not only keep up to date with new development and trends in teaching, but they also grow personally. Teachers are expected to be dedicated and hardworking professionals who often work under demanding and harsh conditions. Therefore, training and development and support should make their work easier, as it should equip them with more knowledge regarding all aspects of teaching. So what it basically means is that the teaching profession is not smooth sailing all the time. There will be obstacles, there will be harsh conditions. You might be placed at a school that is understaffed or a school that does not have resources and equipment, and therefore you need to cope with this. So, but the encouraging thing is that your training, development, and the support that you get from your peers as well as your supervisors should make this easier to bear and equip you with more knowledge regarding all aspects of teaching. So teaching is a dynamic profession. That means it's constantly changing, new developments. So the education system is reviewed every now and then. So it's very important that the teacher takes cognizance of this and make sure that they continuously learn and develop themselves personally as well as professionally. So in this unit, various aspects relating to the professional development of teachers will be discussed. So how do we make sure that we continuously learn and we stay up to date? So what is professional development? We've looked at professional, what is professional in Unit 1. And then maybe the new word that we come across is development. We know that development refers to advancement, forward-looking, new things, improving on the old things. So when we talk about professional development, knowing that professional refers to the fact that teaching is a profession, and because it's an occupation with a special type of people, where people declare in a public way, and it has certain promises to deliver service. So when we look at the word, what is the word professional development, we're looking at the advancement of the profession or advancing professionally, improving professionally. So that's in a nutshell what is professional development. Professional development is not career development. Career development is where you move from one job to the next, or where you get promoted and stuff like that. That is career development, but we're talking about professional development. So professional development is any activity that increases your skills, knowledge, or understanding of teaching and the effect of teachers and their effectiveness in schools. So when you look at professional development, let's not mix it up with career development. Career development is moving from one job to the next, or getting a promotion, moving from junior to seniority. But when you talk about professional development, we are talking about increase in skills and knowledge and understanding of teaching as a profession. So it is a long-term process that includes regular, systematically planned opportunities and experiences to promote growth and development in the teaching profession. So it's about increasing one's knowledge, skills, and understanding of teaching. Professional development cannot occur once in a while or once off. It's a lifelong process. It ensures the maintenance of teacher professionalism and advances individual and professional abilities. So to make sure that as a teacher you don't become obsolete, you don't become outdated, it's very important that you receive professional development. So this is what it means, but it also ensures the maintenance of teacher professionalism, that you remain professional in your career as a teacher, that you advance, that you know the latest things that are happening, that you can respond to your learners' needs. Because remember, the learners are also in touch with what is going on around them, and they would also want to hear from their teacher what they think of various topics. So it's very important that the teacher understands and is up to date with new information. Professionalism and professional development has to do with networking and sharing of knowledge and best practices. So it's very important that we spoke of teamwork in Unit 1. It's very important that teachers network. You work with other schools and teachers from other schools, from other regions. You network so that you can share best practices. You share with one another which practice gets you the best results. So you share with other teachers and other academics and other people, professions, on how best to deal with certain behaviors of learners and how best to teach certain subjects and which methods work better with certain learners. So networking and sharing of knowledge and best practices are at the heart of professionalism and professional development. It's very important to network and share knowledge and the best practices. Professional development, on the one hand, involves learning from others regarding what works effectively. Like we say, you need to network and share best practices. But on the other hand, it also implies a contribution towards a pool of professional knowledge. So this is the exciting part about professional development. Once you're in the field of teaching, it's not only you who is getting the knowledge and the best practices, but you also get the opportunity to share your best practices and also to contribute to the wealth of knowledge, the pool of professional knowledge that already exists. So it's very exciting because you can become a leading theorist or someone that people can consult because of your expertise and experience. So it's not only you learning from other people, it's also you getting the opportunity to teach other professionals something. So this is what professional development is all about. You learn, at the same time you also impart your own knowledge and understanding and best practices with other colleagues and other academics. Next, we talk about professional development and accountability. Accountability has to do with taking responsibility. And in this case, we talk about professional development and accountability in the sense that teachers need to take accountability for their own professional development. Professional development is not something where you wait for people to invite you for workshops or seminars or where people say enroll for this course. It has to be something that is self-directed. The teacher has to take responsibility for their own continuous learning. So if you see that there are no workshops coming up, there are no invitations to seminars, enroll yourself for a program that you can go on the internet, you can find out from head office which programs are currently there. In some cases, teachers even request for training programs and say, you know what, we have identified some orphans in our school, can we get someone to train us on how to handle orphans? You know, or we have noticed that a lot of our learners have learning difficulties. Can we get an expert to come to our school and just teach us a little bit on how to handle learners with learning difficulties? So teachers have to take accountability for professional development, for their own professional development. And this is where we have the heading professional development and accountability. The other important point to understand when it comes to professional development and accountability is that the performance of the learners serve as a feedback for the teacher's teaching methods and the ability to transfer knowledge to learners. Like it was already stated in Unit 1, teachers have a unique and noble calling because their profession is the only one with the primary mandate of passing knowledge from one generation to the other. So how do you know you are doing a good job? You need to look at the learners' feedback. Are your learners performing? The performance of your learners should serve as feedback. Yes, I understand that learner performance doesn't only depend on the teacher, but the teacher plays a huge role. So it's very important not to be defensive and say, but my learners are doing bad. Does that mean I'm a bad teacher? No. It just means that maybe you need to look at some of your teaching methods and come up with other teaching methods that are more effective. Or you need to network with other teachers from other schools who are teaching the same subject as you and find out why are they getting results and you are not. So when it comes to professional development, it's about learning to do things the best way possible to get results. So it's not about blaming yourself and saying that I'm not a good teacher because my learners are not performing well. It's about you sitting down with yourself and saying, how can I improve my learners' performance? What can I do? Can I find out from teacher from school A and find out how they are doing and what methods they are using? So the performance of the learner serves as a feedback for the teacher. The teacher should use this feedback to guide and know what to improve. Often teachers are quick to blame learners for failing without doing introspection. So the word introspection means to investigate yourself, to look within you and see what is it that I'm maybe most probably not doing well. What should I improve on? Or maybe the method that I've been using is old. Can I try a new way of doing things, of teaching this subject? So when it comes to professional development and accountability, the teacher needs to take accountability and responsibility for their own professional development, for their own growth within their profession. So, and learner feedback from learners' performance is a very important tool. When teachers regard themselves as accountable, because not all teachers are quick to do introspection. So teachers that are mature, they do introspection. They look within themselves and say, how can I improve? So when teachers regard themselves as accountable, that how I teach and whether I'm effective or not is very important. When teachers regard themselves as accountable, it can be motivational for them. So a teacher who sees a learner's feedback as a tool to use to improve their own learning practices are likely to be more successful because they look at what is not going well and they improve on that. But teachers who see learner performance as not a feedback, as that teachers failing has nothing to do with their teaching methods, are likely to use the same old methods year in, year out, and they don't improve. So it's very important that teachers do introspection and they are accountable for the performance of the learners. So when teachers regard themselves as accountable, it prompts them to implement constructive methods that will lead to improved learning. So teachers that are accountable, who do introspection, who see learner performance as feedback, are likely to improve their teaching methods and they are likely to be more successful. So professional development and accountability is very important. You need to be accountable to yourself and you need to improve your teaching methods. Accountable teachers rely on effective teaching and leadership practices as they recognize that these bring about successful results. So teachers that are accountable, teachers that see learner performance as feedback, they are more likely to be effective and they are more likely to have leadership skills because they recognize that these things of doing introspection, going back and forth and looking at how can I improve my teaching, it brings about results. So they are likely to be successful in their teaching profession and they are more likely to be advanced. The professional development with teachers that do introspection and accountable is likely to be high. They are likely to be experts in their fields because they are ever trying to improve their teaching methods. Teachers who are accountable are consequently regarded as leaders and will stand out from the rest. These are teachers that are likely to go for promotional posts because they believe in themselves, they believe they are good because they've tried over the years to improve themselves. So they are also likely to be regarded as leaders and they are likely to find themselves in management positions because they are experts in their field and they try to improve and they can influence other teachers to also improve their teaching methods. And they serve as an example to other teachers who are trying to improve. So professional development can be divided into two categories. There's formal professional development and informal professional development. Formal professional development refers to in-service training, for example, the ones provided by the Department of Education, in-service training. In-service training provided by the school, workshops, professional meetings, study groups, mentoring, collaboration and discourse with other teachers. Collaboration and discourse with other teachers. We spoke about the importance of networking and learning best practices from other teachers that are also teaching the same subjects. So collaboration is basically networking and working with other teachers. And then discourse is where you discuss on an academic level topics that have to do with that subject or the content that you teach. This formal professional development can also refer to short-term courses. Like I said, enrolling for a computer class, just to make sure that you are technologically advancing and that you can use technology with your learners. Any short-term course that will help you to improve your teaching can be classified as formal professional development. And then we talk about informal professional development. This refers to reading of academic literature related to teaching or subjects where you just lay back and you just want to learn more about your teaching method, or you just want to go back to theories that you did in school and just to refresh your mind. So just reading of academic literature related to your teaching or your subjects, that's informal. Watching television documentaries relating to the subject of teaching. You can watch a documentary maybe to do with how to teach children with learning difficulties. So informal professional development, just watching a documentary or a TV program. Knowledge generated through own experience and reflection of teachers. Like we said, it's very important that teachers do introspection. Sometimes you keep your notes of your lesson plans, and you next year you realize that that was a nice lesson plan. Why don't I use it? You go back, maybe you change it a little bit here and there, but you use your own knowledge and experience and reflection to improve yourself. So those are informal professional development examples that you can use. So professional development is divided in two categories. There's the formal professional development. These are things like workshops, planned activities by the ministry for in-service training in the schools, short-term courses, and then we have the informal professional developments, like just doing a bit of reading on academic subjects, watching television shows, Googling the internet, using your old notes and your own experience just to come up with better ways of teaching. So what are the features or characteristics of good professional development? Professional development is not haphazard. It's not unorganized. You can't just stand up and say, I'm doing professional development. It has to be planned for it to be effective. It needs to be planned. The success of a professional development program depends on the content and the way it is put into practice. So it's very important that when we have professional development programs, we prepare in advance, whether you are attending or you are the one facilitating, but it needs to be planned and well done. The content is very important, and the way people will understand it to translate it into practice is also just equally important. So what are the characteristics of or features of good professional development? We've spoken that it needs to be well planned, the content needs to be good, and you need to think about, once people have attended this professional development program, how are they going to put it into practice? That's very important, because oftentimes we will attend workshops only to go back to our schools and continue doing things the old ways. So the third aspect of how to put things into practice was probably missing, or we didn't understand that part. So it's very important for us to plan professional development. So what are the features? The first one is that teachers should be treated as active learners who are participating in the concrete tasks of teaching, assessment, observation, and reflection. One thing that we should remember also, us as teachers, is that when you attend a professional development course, whether it's a workshop or in-service training, you are not blank, you are not empty. You can also bring something to the table. So, and you can also build on your existing knowledge that you have. So one thing to remember, either for the trainee or the trainer, is that teachers should be treated as active learners. You know, they are not blank. Teachers come to workshops and training. They know something. It's just a question of putting it into perspective. So it's very important that we realize and treat teachers as active learners. Another important thing to remember, another feature of good professional development, is that professional development should be school-based and relate to the daily activities of the teacher and the learners. It's not good to invite people for a workshop and they can't relate to the content. It has nothing to do with what they do on the everyday basis or at their school, their work setting. So it's very important that whatever professional development program you come up with, it must relate to the school and the daily activities of teachers and learners. The topic must be relevant. Otherwise, people will listen and go back and nothing will happen. There will be no changes. They will continue doing things the old way. So it's very important that the content is school-based and relate to the daily activities of the teachers and learners. The third feature of good professional development is that good professional development must allow for on-the-job development or training, which includes learning activities such as study group, action research, and portfolios. So for you to come up with a good professional development program, it must touch on the job. It must be about the job that they do, their daily activities. So whether you put them in study groups or action where they look at how things have been done and then how to improve things, looking at portfolios, what are their experiences and stuff that they've done in their previous trainings. It's very important that it touches on the job and that you don't go off topic and teach people things that they can't use in their everyday work. So whatever professional development program you come up with, it must be based on the job. It must be based on the school. It must relate to the daily activities of the learners and the teachers. Very, very important, something that sometimes organizers of workshops and professional development programs overlook, is that it must be supported by the school. The school must see the need for this development program. They must see the need for the workshop, or they will send someone, but the person will not really participate because it is not supported by the school. Maybe it's because it's not in line with what the school is trying to achieve, or the content is not relevant to what the school is doing. So it's very important that the school supports the program. Another thing to remember, another feature of good professional development is that it must be interactive. Teachers must be able to have conversations, and administrators and parents and the community, or whoever attends the workshop, there must be a networking and sharing of ideas. Professional development is not so much, it's not to be so academic. It should be more active, it must be interactive, and people must be able to share what they are doing and link to the new skills that they are getting, or if it's a refresher course, then they must be able to relate to the topic. It must be interactive. They must be able to move around, talk to one another, and share ideas. Another feature of good professional development is that it must allow for staff relationships that are based upon mutual respect, collaboration, consultation, and involve a feel-good factor and high levels of intrinsic motivation, which lead to individual initiative and the desire on the part of the staff to strive for achieving a high standard of work. In other words, the professional development program or activity must allow people to network, but also to respect each other's experiences and backgrounds and qualifications. There must be collaboration and consultation. People must feel good about being involved in the professional development activities. They must be self-motivated. It's not good for someone to maybe go for a training and they sit at the back and they just observe. That is not professional development. Good professional development allows people to interact with one another, to share and to feel respected that they are bringing something to the table, that they are not only listening. Like we say, it's not an academic teaching. Professional development has more to do with hands-on practice. It has to do with day-to-day activities. So everyone must feel a sense of involvement in the project or in the activities, and they must feel an intrinsic self-motivation to be part of the activities that are going on, and they must want to achieve, so that when they leave the activity, they must be able to implement what they were doing during the workshop or the seminar. They must be able to implement back at their schools. So a professional development that doesn't allow people to be involved and to take part and to be actively involved, it's not a good sign of good professional development. Good professional development, everyone gets involved and participates, and no one is an observer. Continuing, another feature of professional development is that it takes into account the teacher's own personal, academic, and professional needs. Like I said, the teachers must be able to participate. They must feel valued, that they are also bringing something to the table. They have experience, they have qualifications, they have their own way of understanding things and teaching things. So it should, whatever professional development is going on, it must acknowledge that the teacher is not coming to the workshop blank, is not empty, but is also bringing something and is taking something to enhance what they already know or what they are already doing. So whenever you go through professional development, you should be able to feel respected as a professional, and you should also be able to feel like you are learning something that can help you do better what you are currently doing. Professional development should be sustainable and intensive. And this is why most of the time we go for workshops from 3 to 5 days, sometimes even 2 weeks, just for a workshop, just to be trained on how to do things. So it must be intensive, it must be practical, people must work. Professional development, people must work and debate and share notes and share feelings, and it should be very active. It should also be sustainable. Good professional development costs money and time. So you must budget for it. It must be well planned. This is why we spoke from the very beginning that it must be well planned. It must be budgeted for. People should know in advance that next year in April there's a workshop on whatever topic, and it's going to be 5 weeks. The schools must be notified in advance, so they can also choose the right candidate to attend such a training. So it should be sustainable and intensive, because sometimes schools are notified a day or two before the workshop starts, and the teacher must change her schedule, and she's not really happy to be there because she's thinking of her learners that are left behind 1 week without classes. So good professional development should be done in advance and should be planned, should be sustainable. Lastly, good professional development should make provision for teachers to be informed regarding the content and the process they require to teach their learners effectively. So teachers must feel like they are gaining something. There are certain times where you attend a professional development and you come back even more confused, or you don't even agree with the content that was taught. And that is not a sign of good professional development. Professional development, the teacher must feel that they are being informed, that they are learning, that they are adding to their already existing knowledge, so that it can help them to teach learners effectively. So the end product of professional development is that learners at the end of the day perform better. So if you find yourself attending workshops and seminars and going for further study, but your learners are not improving, then it might be a sign that professional development is not taking place. You might be acquiring knowledge, but when it comes to practicing and putting into practice what you have acquired, you're not good at it, or it's not being taught to you effectively. So the end product of good professional development is that learners perform better. Not that you have acquired or you can say I've attended 20 workshops or I have a master in this and I have this and that, but that the learners that you're learning, your teaching methods are effective. That's the end product of professional development, that learners improve, and not that you acquire so much knowledge and you have so many certificates on your wall. That's not the outcome. That's not the end product of professional development. The end product of professional development is that the learners you teach improve, their performances improve, and you become a better teacher. Okay. So what is the importance and value of professional development? Sometimes the question is set where a scenario is given that please convince your colleague why it is important to attend a professional development activity after school. And it's amazing that learners always most of the time they miss the mark. They misunderstand the question, because once you understand the importance of professional development, it's very easy to answer the question. How do you convince another colleague that they should attend an activity after school that will enhance their professional development? So it's very important to understand the importance and value of professional development. Why do we need professional development? One might argue, I have my degree, I have my diploma, why should I go for workshops? Why should I go for further education? Why should I surf the net and read? Why should I even buy maybe an educational journal? Why should I just waste? I'm done with school. So why should I keep reading? I have my diploma. So what is the importance and value of professional development? One thing to remember is that professional development is actually there to help the teacher in building new pedagogical theories. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that word right, but just to build new theories of teaching and practice, and to help them develop their expertise in the field. So the role of professional development is to help the teacher to improve their teaching methods and to make sure that their learners perform better. The teacher and the learner both benefit from professional development, and it leads to educational reform. Educational reform refers to the pool of knowledge that exists in the education. It must change because times are changing. New technology and new ways of thinking are coming into the educational system. So the way of teaching that was used in the 1920s might not work in 2015. So it's very important that there's educational reform, but it only comes about as teachers improve their teaching methods and realize that there are methods that work and there are methods that don't work. Or there are methods that work with certain learners and there are methods that don't work with other learners. So it leads to educational reform. So it benefits the learner and it also benefits the teacher. At the end of the day, it's learner-centered. Professional development is aimed at the teacher, but is aimed to benefit the learner more. That's the outcome. That's the end product of professional development, that the learner improves and performs better, even though the teacher is the one that is getting the professional development activities. So professional development has been associated with the following: improving classroom performance. So teachers that go for a lot of professional development, they tend to improve their classroom performance. They engage with opportunities created by change initiatives. So they are more likely to try new methods. They are not scared of change within their teaching methods, or because they understand it better, that it works. it also prepared teachers for specialized roles within the organization. Every profession has a specialization. So when you start teaching the general public. You teach learners from all angles. But as the years go by and as you gain more experience, you realize maybe you work better with children with disability or learning difficulties, and that in that way you come up with a specialized role. You realize you want to do maybe your master's in specialized education. You know, because of professional development, you learn new ways and you also find which things that you are better at. So it leads to specialized roles within the teaching profession. Another advantage of professional development is that it leads teachers into roles of management and leadership. Teachers that continuously improve their teaching methods, who understand teaching better, they are more likely to go for promotional posts and they end up in management positions. And then that also allows them to groom new teachers, encourage them to improve their teaching methods. Lastly, the importance and value of professional development is that it leads to sharing of good practices through networking. You get to meet other professions, you get to learn from their experiences, and then in that way it also motivates you. Especially when you've been working for a long time in a career and you're not as happy as you were at the beginning of your career. It helps to meet other teachers and then you find out their experience, and it makes working as a teacher exciting again when you network with other people. So what type of professional training are there? One thing that we should understand is that all teachers cannot receive the same professional training and development. And this is because teachers vary according to their needs and their qualification. So sometimes we sit in a workshop and you are totally lost. You don't understand the content. It might be that the content is not at your level. Or you sit there and then other people are participating and you start feeling bad because you don't understand what is going on. That happens a lot. Or you go for a workshop only for you to feel bored because everything that is being discussed there, you already know. And you're already doing it, you're already putting it into practice. So you end up 5 days sitting bored because the content is perhaps not of your standard, the qualification where you are, and you end up being very bored, or you end up being very challenged. So it's very important for planners when they plan for professional development, that they take the differences among teachers into consideration when calling people for workshops and in-service training. That people don't feel bored, but at the same time they don't feel too challenged that they can't learn anything. So professional development programs should be structured in such a way that it will take into account the particular type of teacher, their level of career experience with subjects they are teaching, as well as the levels and grades of learners they are teaching. In-service training can be very frustrating, especially if it's boring because it's way too below your expertise, or it's too high above your expertise. It can be very challenging, and that can be very frustrating. So it's very important that we take all these things, these categories into consideration. The particular type of teacher, their level of career experience. Have they been teachers for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? How long have they been teachers? Where have they taught and what have they taught? Which subjects are they teaching? Which level? Is it primary or secondary level? Which grades are they teaching? These aspects are very important when planning for professional development. So what type of training is suitable for unqualified or underqualified teachers? If a teacher is unqualified or underqualified, it's important that they receive in-service training, mentoring, classroom practices, and or continuous professional development. In-service training is on-the-job training, where you are trained on the job, where things are being demonstrated. Mentoring is when you have a more experienced teacher, senior teacher, help a younger, not younger in age, but a new teacher to master some of the basics. So you have a mentor. The younger teacher or the new teacher has a mentor who is a senior teacher. And then classroom practices. It's almost like in-service training, but in the classroom you get to observe what the other teacher is teaching, the methods, the interaction between the teacher and the learner, and you get to learn from that. Or someone observes the teacher and then gives back to the teacher feedback on what they have observed in the classroom. And then continuous professional development. You might have to enroll for a course or go for an extended period of time to gain some skills. So what are the elements of support to ensure a positive context for professional development of teachers? It's very important, like we say, that the school should support professional development. Whatever program or activity the ministry is undertaking, it's very important that the school supports it. Because if the school doesn't buy into the idea of that type of professional development, then it's likely when the teacher comes back to the school, they will not implement, or the principal or the HOD will not keep them accountable to implement what they have learned, because they never supported the program in the first place. So every school must have a professional development policy to regulate the training and development of the teachers employed at the school. Every teacher must get the opportunity to go for training. It's not easy said. It's easier said than done, because sometimes some teachers are not interested. They don't see the value of professional development. In some cases, you have teachers that just love attending professional development, but they don't implement. They love attending workshops and seminars, but you don't see any changes in their teaching methods or in the learners' performances. So it's very difficult to say who can attend and who cannot attend, and that is left up to management. But what's important to take away is that every school must have a professional development policy. It must have a professional development policy, and all staff members should be aware of what the policy states. Another element of support that is important is that teachers must know beforehand when the trainings are supposed to take place. It's very important that schools know, sometimes even months in advance, so that they can change their programs accordingly. It's very frustrating to approach a school to attend a workshop or a seminar, or for people to enroll for a course haphazardly, because people have to change their schedules at the last minute. Learners are left unattended. The school project programs are left unattended. So it's very frustrating for the school. So it's very important that schools, developers or trainers inform the schools beforehand about the meetings, where, when, and for how long. Another element of support that's important is that professional development can equip teachers with skills to manage their workload and to establish boundaries between their professional and personal lives. Like we say, that the teaching circumstances are not always favorable. So you will not end up in a school that has all the equipments, where all the children are motivated, where parents understand the value of education. It's just not possible. Very few schools can boast of having those elements. So you find yourself in a school setup where the workload is a lot, and it takes a lot of your personal time. And you also maybe don't have support, or people don't appreciate what you do. So professional development helps you to cope with the situations of the teaching profession. So the more you go to professional development seminars and workshops and you read up, the more you'll be able to learn how to manage the stress that comes with the job. Another element of support is that there's always good to have resources for staff: DVDs, CDs, books, physical facilities, internet, computers. It's very important that the schools, because every school should have a professional development policy, they must then make budgetary provisions for resources for teachers, whether it's DVDs, CDs, books, radios for the learners to listen to some programs, or even having just a TV. It's very important in this age and time that schools stock up on the resources for the staff members, because it makes work for the staff members easy. It's very difficult when you work without resources. It's absolutely difficult. So it's very important that in their school, in the school's professional development policy, they make budgetary provisions to buy some of these equipments. Either they buy it through their budget, or they ask for sponsorship. But it's very important that the school has resources for the staff members. Another element of support is class visits by peers. It's very important, like for the team spirit to exist in the school, especially to help teachers to improve their teaching methods. When teachers trust each other, it's easier for them to give each other feedback. If there is no trust amongst teachers, then teachers become very defensive when they get advice from each other. So it's very important that class visits are encouraged, teamwork is encouraged, so that there is a non-threatening environment which enables teachers to learn from each other. Another element of support is that the management of the school should plan and budget for professional development and training for teachers. We've already stressed the importance of planning and budgeting for professional development and training of teachers. And it's also very important that teachers get equal opportunities to attend trainings, because you might find in a certain school only the senior members, senior managers attend trainings, but then they are not actually involved in the actual work. But they like to attend trainings, but they are not doing the actual work, which is a bit unfair to the teachers that are doing the actual work, but they are not receiving the support they need. So it's very important to have a fair and balanced attendance of professional development and training. So the school policy, school professional development policy should cater for all these elements and address this issue. It's important that the self and peer assessment forms where the school develops forms for peers to, for teachers to evaluate one another and to give each other feedback. Learner feedback instruments are also important tools. It's scary for some teachers to think that they give opportunities to learners to give them feedback about their teaching methods, but a teacher who is confident in their learning, in their teaching ability, and that teachers that are not afraid to learn new things will not be fearful of learner feedback instruments. To them, they will see it as an opportunity to learn. So learners can also be asked to give feedback about the teachers' teaching methods. Another thing also that we've spoken about is that the learner's performance in itself is a feedback tool for the teacher. So it's very important that learners also are given the opportunity to give feedback, and that the teachers are mature enough to handle the criticism, whether it's positive or negative, and improve based on these feedbacks. It's also important to recognize and reward staff members as well as learners, especially when it comes to professional development. A recognition and reward system for staff should therefore be included in the professional development policy of the school. So the school must recognize achievements. Teachers go for workshops and seminars and training, or they enroll for courses, and they pass very well and they start doing new things, but the management of the school does not have a reward and recognition system. It's very depressing and it's very discouraging for teachers who want to improve, because they might end up feel unappreciated, and they might end up asking why should they put so much effort when the school management does not recognize what they are doing. It's also a good incentive for other teachers when others get recognition and rewards. It's also a motivation for other teachers to follow suit. Another element of support is career path salaries. Is important for creating a positive context. The more teachers become good at their job, the more likely they are to get promotional posts. Induction programs for new teachers, that's the new topic. The goal of an induction program is twofold. Firstly, new teachers are introduced to the culture and work methods of the school where he or she works. We cannot underestimate the importance of induction programs for new teachers. It's very important that new teachers are introduced to the culture and work methods of the school. Teachers should be inducted. There should be an induction program drawn up that when a school receives new teachers, this is what they are being told about the school. This is the program for induction. So new teachers are introduced to the culture of the school as well as the work methods. Secondly, new teachers are introduced to the teaching methods and the realities of the teaching profession. What are our weaknesses and strengths in our school? The new teachers should be able to know these things. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are we dealing with in this school? It's very important that new teachers are made aware during the induction period about the limitations and achievements of the school, about the culture and the work methods of the school. There are certain considerations that should be included in the induction program for new teachers. They should get advice and guidance by more experienced teachers, in-school training sessions by heads of departments, mentoring by more experienced teachers, discussion groups between new teachers and peer teachers and more experienced teachers. There should be dialogue among teachers about teaching methods, observation of classes presented. New teachers can sit in while more experienced teachers teach, and then they can observe. The new teachers should get regular and constructive feedback, especially the first year of teaching is very important to shape a teacher. It's important that they get regular and constructive feedback, not negative criticism. And then they should be encouraged to keep written records of induction activities. Like I said, the school should have an induction program on paper where every teacher knows that when we receive new teachers, this is the activities that we carry out. We spoke about mentoring as a professional development. We explained earlier that a mentor is someone who's more experienced and takes another less experienced profession to guide and teach and to give constructive feedback. So a good mentor, there are characteristics of a good mentor. They need to be able to provide guidance without being too directive. You don't need to tell the person precisely what to do, but you can give instruction. Be able to listen to new ideas. Sometimes the new teachers are new from college or from the university, so they have new ideas that the older teacher, the more experienced teacher might not be aware of. So it's very important for a mentor to listen to the new teachers when they talk about their new ideas. They must allow for wider discussion and analysis. New teachers are likely to be more academic, more theoretical, while mentors are likely to be more experienced and more hands-on. So it's very good to strike a balance with the new teachers. So a good mentor must be able to allow for wider discussion and analysis, be able to communicate in a respectful, professional, and productive way. The way a mentor talks to the new teacher will also influence the new teacher's attitude and behavior. Be caring and willing to share. Be willing to accept the challenges and accept the extra effort and demand on his or her own time. Having a new teacher to mentor is not easy. It takes time and effort, and it takes a lot of patience because this person is just starting out. They might have a lot of theories, but they don't have that much experience. So it takes a lot of patience to mentor a new teacher. On the other hand, the trainee teacher, the person that is being mentored, must have sufficient communication skills to get the best from his or her mentor. So they must know to ask the right questions at the right time and to ask for guidance. So they must be proactive. when you have a mentor, the mentor might assume that you already know something, so they might not tell you. But as a trainee teacher, it's your responsibility to ask the mentor as much as possible. You need to be focused and be persistent. There's nothing more frustrating when you have someone to mentor and they're just not interested or focused, or they have no idea what they're doing. It's very frustrating. So the trainee teacher must be persistent, focused, eager to ask questions, and be willing to accept guidance. They must have social skills, a positive attitude, be able to accept constructive criticism, because the experienced mentor knows a lot more, and the theories that you come with might need adjustment to be put into practice. So you must be able to accept constructive criticism. We look at the three models of mentoring. The three models of mentoring. We talk about mentoring. We now know that mentoring has to do with a more experienced teacher who takes on a teacher that has less experience or is just starting work. So the more experienced teacher acts as a guide and as a role model to the younger, inexperienced teacher. So there are three models of mentoring. There are three ways that one can do mentoring, or let's say three styles of mentoring. There's the apprenticeship model. This model focuses on the trainee teacher observing and learning from the mentor. So apprenticeship, it's someone who takes on the trade, who is in training for a trade. So you watch what your mentor is doing, and you try to emulate or to copy what they are doing, or their way of doing things. So you are an apprentice under the guidance of someone who's more under the guidance of a master. So the apprenticeship models focuses on the trainee teacher observing and learning from the mentor. So you might go in the class of your mentor and you watch what they do, and you try to go and see if you can replicate what they did. And then there's another model of mentoring, or style of mentoring. It's called a competency model. And it focuses on the mentor providing feedback to the trainee teacher about the skills and the expertise. So the trainee teacher, the young teacher might try out things, and the mentor observes and gives feedback. So the competency model is about improving your competency. So they tell you, no, this is how it's done, do like this. So it's about critical reasoning, competency, reflection, just to challenge the trainee teacher by giving them feedback and support, and encouraging them to continue to look at their own teaching methods and improving on that. So it's about competency. The reflective model, and another thing about the competency model, there's a lot of communication between the mentor and the trainee. But in the apprenticeship model, the difference between competency and apprenticeship is that apprenticeship, the mentor is showing you how to do the work. So there isn't a lot of communication. You are watching. But in the competency model, there's a lot of communication. There's a lot of feedback. So it's a lot of words, and then in the apprenticeship, it's a lot of more doing. And then the reflective model directs mentors to support the trainee teacher's professional development. The trainee teacher, the young, inexperienced teacher, is encouraged to do a lot of reflection. A lot of reflection. So as they are doing things, they are also asked to evaluate themselves. And that's the difference between the three types of models, mentoring models. And then just to conclude, we know that any activity that increases the skills, knowledge, and understanding of teachers and their effectiveness in schools is regarded as professional development. So any activity that you take so that you can improve your teaching methods and yourself as a profession is regarded as professional development. And remember that we say there is formal and informal professional development. Teachers should be accountable for their own professional development. All teachers cannot receive the same professional training. It depends on their level of qualification, the grades they teach, whether it's primary or secondary. So those aspects need to be considered. Every school should have an induction program for new teachers, And then mentoring is a very important process whereby a more experienced teacher takes on less or inexperienced teacher to guide them through the process. And it's especially very important during the first year of teaching. Thank you very much.